Hello everybody, my name is Meteor Kaiser and welcome back to another challenge video. This one we're gonna curb your nostalgia with some Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards. Yeah, that feels weird to say. I have not played this game in a long time. All I remember from my memory is it being a easy game with spikes of difficulty here and there. And for the most part, this will be true. There was no particular reason why I wanted to pick up Sacred Cards again. I was just like, old game, feeling Yu-Gi-Oh vibes. Let's go with Sacred Cards. So we just jump into it then. The rules this time are pretty simple. I'm allowed to do everything except for using the shop. I cannot purchase any cards from the shop. So all of the cards that I add to my deck have to be won in duels. So essentially, I'm going to be building up my deck based on whatever I defeat in the game. So with this very simple rule of not using the shop out of the way, let's just go ahead and jump into the game. Now, for those of you who haven't played this game, which I'm surprised, there's probably not that many of you, but you at least know about Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards is based off of the Battle City arc of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, except in this situation, you're playing as an OC, like your own character, where you'll be traveling around with Yugi and Joey on their quest to get through Battle City and the king of games yet again, and also to stop Merrick, but that's a side plot. I just want to mention real quick one more time, if you haven't subbed already and you like watching my stuff, I'd really appreciate it. That would be great. That would help out the channel a lot. Now the game opens up in the Clock Tower Square. I have a look at my deck and realize, hey, this thing's a pile of crap, but everyone else is also going to have pile of crap decks. I'll go around dueling some of the first guys in the Clock Tower Square to get a few more cards, and also every time you duel against someone, it'll increase your max capacity in your deck. So that means you can essentially hold better cards in your deck. Like, you only have a certain amount of capacity for cards, and each card has a different value of how much they're worth, whether it's 40, 60, 80, 20, 100, or like 300. So it just depends on the card's value. Like an 1800 attack monster is going to cost a lot more than a 700 attack monster, and so on and so forth. Our first challenge, I guess, of the run is in the north of the Clock Tower Square. We run across Bones, who has a very easy deck. The only thing to worry about is if he gets his ace off, which is the Pumpkin, the King of Pumpkins, or whatever, King of Shadows, something like that. It's an 1800 attack monster, which is pretty scary for this point, and we don't have any tribute summons that can match that. So just make sure you're knocking down each of his cards as they come out. The next little fights that we run into are Esperoba and his brothers. Now, the brothers are very easy. Esperoba is scary. Again, it's the same sort of situation. His ace monster is Jinzo, which is a 2400 attack monster, and it's only one tribute. And he actually does manage to pull it out. Thank God I had Black Hole, or Dark Hole, which destroys every monster on the field. With an even playing field, I was able to defeat Esperoba. Too bad I can't use his Jinzo yet, because Jinzo is a very, very high cost card, being around 300. There's also the Duelist level. If your Duelist level is not higher than what the card cost is, you won't be able to use it. Anyway, with both Bones and Esperoba taken out, our next opponent is in, again, the Clock Tower Square. It's Rex Raptor. Now, I've added a couple of cards to my deck, nothing insane, just sort of what I've won around the area. And one of them being this giant sandstone thing. And that pretty much carries me through the Rex fight. Once we defeat Rex, our next objective is to head to the park, where we have to take on Weevil Underwood, our boy. Weevil is not that bad, but just be careful about him. The only reason I consider him a minor threat is because of how many people you have to take on with him. You have to defeat 3 other duelists before you can actually challenge Weevil, and you actually have to beat Weevil twice before he'll acknowledge you, which is really stupid and scummy, but that sounds about right for Weevil Underwood. But Weevil himself is not that much of a challenge. You can pretty much just steamroll through him. Our next fight is against Arcana, who's at the card shop. You have to, once you go in the card shop, well, before you go in the card shop, right, there's a guy in the Clock Tower Square on the south middle side that you have to beat and talk to, and he'll talk about some rumors over there. Then you head over there, and then he's gonna be just waiting there. You follow him down in the basement. He duels you with your life on the line. You know, exactly like how it was in the anime. It's too bad Arcana is, yeah, a complete joke. A lot of these earlier fights are super easy. So you just, even if you lose, Sacred Cards is one of those games that heavily relies on RNG. So if you get a good card / a good tribute monster out, you're set. After I take on Arcana, I head over to the building where I happen to see Mai in front. Mai is actually relatively scary. She's got a lot of powerful cards, and at this point, there's not that much I can do to her powerful cards. So this is as good a time as any to introduce to you guys elemental type weaknesses. If you've played this game, you know exactly what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, well, you're in for a treat. It's sort of treated like, I hate to say it, but like Pokemon, where it doesn't matter how strong a card is, if like a certain card goes up another certain card, it'll just instantly defeat it. There's Forest, Thunder, Water, Pyro, Light, Wind, Earth, Dream, Fiend, Light, and Shadow. So for example, like you could throw a 0 attack Light monster up against a 1700 Fiend monster, and it will always kill it. It's stupid, I know, but honestly, it saves my ass sometimes. So this is when I'm gonna have to start relying on some of those elemental weaknesses to get ourselves through, because our cards are not gonna be quite as good as these guys' cards are. So on the first attempt, I do die, but on the second attempt, I am able to take care of Mai. The next place we gotta go to is the bridge, and no, not that bridge, you know, not the bad bridge, but a better bridge. We head over, and our person of interest is Strings. He's the guy that we saw in the park. He sort of just did nothing, but now he's under Marik's control. Ooh, scary. And he's gonna try and defeat us. However, we beat his ass pretty easily, because I'm almost immediately able to get out a tribute monster in Morinfen, if that's how you want to pronounce it, and it gets boosted from Yami, so its attack is 2k, so it carries me through the fight, and Strings is easily taken care of. Now this is where the game starts giving us some shit, right? Thunder monsters are pretty hard to come across, right? And we're at the aquarium, so all of these guys' monsters are boosted from Ocean, which means that they'll get more attack points. So like the average attack points of each of the monsters was around 11 to 1300. My guys are a lot less than that, like a lot less. This is the beginning of our first little grinding trip that we go on. I go around to like places like the building where I haven't fought many people. And then after I've sort of exhausted all of my options, I go back and I fight Bones. That's gonna be, you'll be seeing me fighting Bones a lot. I add a couple of really powerful cards to my deck. Like one of them is a 1400 attack monster. It's got some weird name, like Takuhei or something. I'm able to beat the odd trainer here and there, but I actually have to go back and do even more grinding, which isn't that bad. It brings up my dual capacity quite a bit. And eventually, by adding a couple of thunder monsters to my deck, adding like Sword Stalker, which is a 2k tribute monster, which is pretty good, Dark Magician and everything in my deck, I'm able to eventually get my way through and be able to fight Mako Tsunami and deal with him. Next up is the Ghoul Invasion. Around the map, they'll be scattered a bunch of different ghouls. Their gimmick is they've got Yami. They're not that strong. They're more fodder than anything, which is nice. Especially now that I've got a 1400 attack monster and a couple of slightly below that. These guys are pretty much paper for my army. I also add myself a UFO turtle into my deck. That's a cool guy. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. 1400 attack as well. And some cards that have really saved me through all of this have been my Petite Angels, which I added in earlier. They're just 600 attack, 900 defense, but they're light monsters. And a lot of the enemies use fiend type monsters. So I'm basically able to save myself through most of these ghoul fights because of my Petite Angels. Anyway, when I've sort of felt like I've dealt with enough of these ghouls, I head over to the park to deal with Bandit Keith, who's the main problem here. and you have to defeat him to make the story go on, or else you're going to be stuck in an infinite loop of defeating ghouls, which could be fine. And to be honest, I probably should have done that. It would have been easy training, easy money. But we're able to deal with Bandit Keith quite easily because I am able to get out my Dark Magician, which is pretty nice. After dealing with Bandit Keith in the park, next place we got to go back to is the building because Mokuba gets kidnapped. And we have to take care of Loomis and Umbra. Loomis or Umbra, to be honest. These guys are super duper easy. They're about the same level as Bandit Keith is. And I'm able to get out a couple of nice tributes, so it wasn't too bad. Now next up is we have to head to the pier. And Joey has been mind controlled by Merrick. So we have to defeat Joey. And Joey gives me more of a hard time than I thought. Now he has Baby Dragon, which is a 1200 attack monster. Which is a lot for this point. 1200 is quite scary. I mean, I do have a 1400 and like two 1400s, but my first game, every single card in my hand was a tribute summon, so I got screwed over. So I had to restart and go again. Second time, I got a lot luckier. I got a couple of tributes, and it was as simple as that. Defeated Joey. Now Joey has to go get his last locator card before we're able to move on to the finals, so I go around defeating a few extra duelists like Jean-Claude Magnum, I think his name is, the guy that's trying to court Mai. He destroys me first attempt. He has Lava Battle Guard and Swamp Battle Guard. Those things are strong. Second attempt though, I got out some of my own monsters a lot sooner than he did, so I was able to clean them up. It's all about RNG. Just hoping that the monsters that you pull are better than his. Alright, now the next thing we gotta do is head over to the museum where we run into a Shizu and Kaiba. So you actually have to beat them both in succession. The Shizu doesn't give me too much problem, and I do have an upgraded dual capacity now. So I add an Alligator Sword, which is a 1500 attack monster, which is pretty nice. However, she still does give me a lot of problems. She's not the worst of it though. It's really Kaiba that really does it in for me. But I go around, I do more training just to get my dual capacity up. I add a few more cards into my deck. And eventually I'm able to beat a Shizu. However, as I said, Kaiba is a bigger problem. So honestly, I just keep fighting because I know I can beat a Shizu at this point, and I get a lot of deck capacity when I defeat the Shizu. So I just keep going back, and eventually I also beat Kaiba, and we're able to move on to the finals of Duel City. Well, I say move on to the finals of Duel City, but my ass gets destroyed, right? So we got Odeon, and this is the first major roadblock. His monsters are 1500, 1600 attack, can get even higher than that. So I'm going to be training against Bones for a while at this point. Thankfully, defeating Bones gives you a good few monsters, but the most important thing is he gives you 10 dual capacity each time, or deck capacity each time you fight him. After a while, I'm able to add a couple more cards, such as Revival Gem to my deck that I got from Strings. Just a very good card because it's 1500 attack, and its effect is it can split in two. So you get two for the price of one. So you could essentially use one next turn for a tribute summon and keep one. So it's really useful. Anyway, I'd be dueling against Bones for a solid 30 minutes at this point. Some good cards that you want to add to your deck are actually the God cards. You'll have Slifer and Obelisk at this point, and they cost 0 deck capacity, so it's definitely worth adding those guys in. There's another really hard fight that you can take on at this point as well. If you head back to the pier, there'll be, and you go immediately to the right, Bandit Keith will be just vibing out there. So he's some easy experience if you want that. He is a very difficult fight, but like, it's still nice. I add a few 1400 attack monsters to my deck, and I have even added an 1800 attack monster to my deck, Cyber Harpy, which I got from Mai. And to be honest, Cyber Harpy was the real one that clutched out the Odeon fight for me. After beating Odeon, we go through a bunch of other people's fights, but who cares about that? Our next personal fight is the second to last fight in the game. It's against Yugioh in Kaiba Corp Island, whatever it is. Now I think I die against Yugioh once because he's able to get out Dark Magician Girl, and Dark Magician Girl destroys me. But on the second go around, I'm able to pull out Obelisk and beat Yugioh into submission. And now we move on to Merrick. Final fight. And Merrick is even worse than Odeon. Merrick, on average, he has Yami boosted. On average, I'd say his monsters do about 2100, 2200 attack. So it's insane. It's really, really high. You know what my strategy for this is? It's time to go back to bones. Always return to bones. And I grind. And I grind. And I keep on grinding. I even off-screen grind for a while until eventually I have a dueling capacity 3400 and I have some serious power in my deck. With my upgraded deck capacity, I think I'm comfortable with fighting Merrick, so I give it a shot. Alright, first turn. I throw out just a weak monster just to test the waters, which is good because he uses his Thousand Eyes Restrict on me. I throw out Cyber Harpy to defeat said monster pretty easily. Next up, I throw in a Mask of Darkness to add a bit more damage to the mix. He doesn't even summon him. He puts one in defense mode, so I'm not worried. I draw a Dark Magician and I'm seriously contemplating adding it, but I just throw out a Skell Angel because it's a light monster. I defeat his face down and get a little bit more damage in. He whips out his Bistro boy, who's terrifying. However, I have two monsters on the field, so I sack them off, bring out Dark Magician, add Dark Energy to it. It's a 2700 attack Dark Magician. I end turn. He doesn't even summon a monster. And I just attack with Dark Magician, and bam, I defeat Merrick and win the game. Now, if you don't have as much patience as I do, well, I mean, I rarely don't have much patience either. But if you really don't want to grind against Bones over and over again, the other strategy you can use for Merrick is he has a lot of Fiend and Shadow monsters. So if you fill your deck with Light and Dream monsters, because Light is good against Fiend, Dream is good against Shadow, you fill your deck with those guys and you should be okay. However, I had that limited thing where I couldn't buy from the shop, and I didn't have any Dream. I had like one Dream monster, so I had to rely on just pure strength at that point. Alright, and that's gonna be it for this challenge. Now, as I expected, it wasn't too hard. It was more grindy than anything. Just getting the right cards. Thank God RNG didn't screw me over too much with what cards I got from the enemies. Bones, you are a blessing on this world. It's too bad I never used any Bones card except for Pumpkin. This game wasn't too bad, but just wait for the next thing I have in store for you guys, or the thing after that, depending on how I upload these things. It's gonna be bad. But anyway, guys, but thank you so much for watching. My name has been Meteor Kaiser, and I'll see you all in the next one. But until then, as always, peace!